Hello.
Welcome to the Listenercast.
It's us again.
We're back.
I'm Whitney.
I'm Ryan.
We're the Listenercast.
That really threw me off for a second when you did that.
Just by listening, you're a listener on the Listenercast.
It's so true.
It is.
Today we are doing a novella, Edgedancer.
Edgedancer.
Ryan's got the dictionary.
Yes, I do. This is a big old book.
That is a big old book. It's signed though. Anyways, we are reading Edgedancer today, which is the novella about Lift.
Yes.
Who is an Edgedancer.
Yes.
This is also my Order of Night Radiant.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
we met Lift in Words of Radiance
We
in
did.
an interlude. It's like the longest interlude, pretty sure.
that one? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And this is kind of following her after Words of Radiance.
Yes.
Yes.
Literally, I would say like this is almost immediately after.
Words of Radiance. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it is because that's the way you're supposed to read these. But
Yeah. I think it's literally like 2.5 or something.
Yeah, it is. That's what it says on Goodreads.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be talking about that today.
All right. We're going to get right into it.
Yep.
Chapter 1. Lift is on her way, leaving the palace with her friend Wendell. Let me start over after. Lift is on her way from leaving the palace with her friend Wendell, who is trying to convince her to return.
Yes. So
Yes.
she was at the last time we saw her. She was at the palace in, where was it? Oh goodness, it's the Bronze Palace.
Mm-hmm. In Azir.
In Azir, yes. So she's left the palace. I remember last time we saw her, she saved Gox's life,
Mm-hmm.
and then he is now like the prime. Is that the right
Yeah, he's
word?
the prime Akasix.
Yeah, of Azir.
Yes.
So I don't know. Does that book start with that interlude?
What
like-
interlude?
The interlude, the Lift interlude. Is it in Arcanum Unbounded?
No, it does not.
This is the whole first part of this book.
Oh, that's the interlude.
Yeah, this is the interlude right here. And
Okay,
then
that
this
makes
is
sense.
chapter 1.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's how they have it formatted in this.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
yeah. So let's see. I have some notes in here. I know Ryan said that he didn't really take any notes, but also he
I do.
writes in his copies, and so with Arcanum Unbounded, I know you didn't want to.
I didn't want to write in this.
Soiled
but,
it.
You know, I have mental notes
Yeah.
that I'll try to remember.
Let's see.
She left without telling anybody.
Yes.
And then she says she did. She ate his lunch.
Yeah, that's how she was like, yeah, I told him because I ate his lunch. And Wendell's like, I don't think he's going to perceive that as you telling him that you left. And she's like, oh, hell no. There's a really cute moment we get with Wendell right in the beginning here. Where we kind of find out about him, and I guess like kind of the extent that some Spren get in Shadesmar. He says, you shouldn't have been surge binding so much. He wound along the ground beside her, leaving a trail of vines and crystals, and we should have stayed in the palace. Oh, how did this happen to me? I should be gardening right now. I had the most magnificent chairs. And she says, chairs? And he says, yes, chairs. Wendell wound up in a coil beside her, forming a face that tilted toward her at an angle off the top of the coil. While in Shadesmar, I had collected the most magnificent selection of the souls of the chairs from your side. I cultivated them, grew them into grand crystals. I had some windstells, and I showbroke quite the collection of spoonbacks, even a throne or two. So he's talking about taking the souls of chairs like in our realm, and then using crystals to garden them to life in Shadesmar.
Yeah.
Which I just think is so cool.
It's really neat.
It's like a funny little thing. And she's like, well, why don't you like garden plants? And he's like, I'm an artist.
Yeah.
I was planning an entire exhibition of sofas when the ring chose me for this atrocious duty. And she's just like talking with her mouth full the entire time that this conversation is going on.
Yeah, with it's like a rag, isn't it? It's like
Oh yeah, she has like a rag stuffed in her mouth because she's like, oh, there's crumbs on it.
Yep.
Yeah. There's also something that happens right at the end, or not the end of this. I don't know. At this point in the chapter, because we know that she has gone to the Night Watcher.
Yes.
Or we know by the end of this book.
Yes.
So she went to the Night Watcher. I mean, it even says on the back of the book. Wait, I read it somewhere. Oh, literally 3 years ago, Lift asked a goddess to stop her from going older, a wish she believed she was granted. So, literally here, it says, Lift shaded her eyes. The wrong things were changing. She was supposed to stay the same, and the world was supposed to change around her. She'd asked for that, hadn't she? Had she been lied to? But I think so we know that happened, but I don't know if she was like, I think maybe with like her radiance, she can't stay the same. I don't know.
She doesn't want to change.
Like she wanted to stay a child forever, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But I just thought that was interesting that like in the first chapter, she's like, well, I asked to stay the same. So
I feel like this whole novella in general raises more questions than answers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is fine. You ready?
Absolutely. Tell me about chapter 2.
Lift makes her way to the line of refugees encroaching Yeddaw. She tells Wendell that there's 10 forms of pancakes that she plans to eat and sneaks her way along the caravan.
Yeah, I don't have anything marked in this chapter because they are just kind of more talking. They're just like more her journeying to. What we find out about Yeddaw is that like everyone is kind of completely covered all the time, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
And they also are kind of similar to Azir's as to where they have to have the right paperwork and like reports for things. So it's really interesting. What I do like about these novellas is that like we get a deeper look into like some cultures that we probably wouldn't see otherwise.
Yeah, like the different parts of Rashar that aren't like Alethi and everything. Yeah.
Because like we are so just on the Alethi and the Stormlight and stuff that it's like we don't get to experience outside of it. So these novellas are like a fun little peek into other things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have anything for chapter 2 either, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what we say? Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. Take a shot every time.
Yeah. Chapter 3, we find ourselves in the perspective of Guard Captain Haka, who finds Lift eating raw grain and is surprised. Failing to capture the young girl, Haka watches Lift create chaos and turn the grain into a waterfall, making its way into the city.
Is it Hoka or is it
Haka?
Hauka?
Who cares?
I don't know. I thought you maybe had this on audiobook, and so I went to go look on Audible last night. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, you have Arcanum Unbounded.
Yes.
I was looking for Edgedancer specifically. I'm a fool. Anyways, so I didn't listen to the audiobook to know about the pronunciations. I do like another little cultural world buildy thing about the pancakes is that they do these 10 different pancakes for different celebrations, kind of. And I think it's fun. And I also like that she's like, my goal is to eat every type of pancake. I respect that.
Yes. I really like the way in which we get to see Lift's powers more. Not just the fact that she can make herself slip and slide everywhere, but she can make like other things slip and slide. Yeah. Like the grain, literally just arcing its way like a waterfall into the immigrant like quarter.
Yeah.
And that's just really cool to me that she was just able to cause that and also do some good. Yeah.
I like at the end it says after the whole thing with the grain falls in and like Lift just like jumps after it. So like like this woman literally watches this girl just like jump off the side of a cliff essentially. And so it says, cart secure. Haka stepped up to the ledge. The girl was nowhere to be seen. Storms. Had she been some kind of spren? Haka searched again but saw nothing, though there was a strange black dust at her feet. It blew away in the wind. So we know that Wendell, she's able to use Wendell in a way where she can like climb on him and stuff because like we found out she's like partially in the cognitive realm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw the black dust and I'm like, was that left over from
Wendell?
Or like something that she did?
I don't know. I always kind of assumed it was Wendell because like doesn't his vines like turn into dust like after a period of time?
Probably so. Because I mean like we know with I guess like the light weaving and stuff, it just turns like it poofs back out in the stormlight. So maybe it would make sense that with his vines, it's like some sort of dust or something. But then I have so many questions.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know
either.
Chapter 4. Lift, now in the city, shows... That's not... Oh, autocorrect.
What did it say?
Lift, now in the city, shows Wendell the book she nabbed, and he informs her that it's worthless. She throws the book behind her, striking a woman, and guards give chase.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of Wendell, it says Syndrome.
Oh, yes.
And so it reads, Lift Now in the City shows Syndrome, the book. And I'm just like, and I just threw my brain for a loop.
So let me ask you, do we see this city in the Stormlight Archive at all?
I think we do. Is this not the city that Kaladin saw in his dream?
I'm not sure, but there is a fight scene that I'm thinking of in particular in one of the later books, because this came up and I was like, have we been to this city? Does this city come up again? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it says, this is just talking about the city and the way that it looks. Everything was up on stilts. Even the most rickety of construction was 4 or so feet up in the air. Liv stood at the mouth of one alleyway, hands in pockets, and looked down along the larger slot. As she noted earlier, each wall of the city was also a set of shops and homes cut right into the rock, painted to separate them from their neighbors. And for all of them, you had to walk up 3 or 4 steps to cut into the stone to get in. And then she says it's like the Pure Lake. Everything's up high. Like nobody wants to touch the ground because it's got some kind of nasty cough.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just thinking about the stilts, and there's like a particular scene I'm thinking of. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure this is a city that we
don't see?
That Kaladin sees in his visions. Mm-hmm. And then Sigzil tells him about it later, right? I could be completely wrong.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you.
Yeah. I don't know.
Both of us are on different pages, and that's okay.
What are you on?
I mean, like, about that.
Yes.
Oh, and physically, probably as well.
Talking about, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, physically, too. Your book is much larger than mine.
Yes.
I'm only on page 99.
I'm on page 562.
Yeah, I think we're on different pages, right? Well, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to talk about...
I think you might be able to talk about what I was going to talk about.
So it's revealed to us. Wendell, I cannot believe this is my existence.
Yes.
I was a gardener, respected. Now, everywhere I go, people look at us as if we're going to pick their pockets. Nothing in their pockets, Liv said, looking over her shoulder. I don't think Shikwas even have pockets. Those baskets, though. Did you know we were considering bonding the nice cobbler man instead of you? A very kindly man who took care of children. I could have lived quietly, helping him making shoes. I could have done an entire display of shoes.
Yes, I marked that as well.
So that's the cobbler that we saw, Darkness Hill, in
one of the other interludes.
The other interludes in Words of Radiance.
Yeah.
And
that could have been Wendell's life. Now he's stuck with this weird girl.
This very weird girl. I like how weird Lift is. I enjoy that she is definitely a comic relief character.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But I like her a lot. She's very funny.
Yeah, I like Lift too. And like, I don't know. I I don't put a lot of merit into like online quizzes, but with reading this book, because actually this is, I don't think I said this earlier, this is my first time reading this novella. There are some moments with Lift where I'm like, I understand why I would be an Edgedancer. It's like very much that like I will care about someone because nobody else will, and like I will remember them if no one else will, and like I hear that and I'm like oh
yeah,
oh they got me,
yeah,
they pinned it on me so hard, like yeah. So I like Lift because I'm also a weird girl.
Yeah.
So I love her.
All right.
Kindred spirits, me and her, kindred spirits.
Chapter 5.
Chapter 5.
After escaping the guards, Wendell questions Lift why she doesn't visit the Reshi Isles, and Lift thinks of her mother. Soon hunger gets the better of her, and she begins her hunt.
Yes. So Wendell's asking her like why they left. And she says, we left because people started to know who I am. If you stay in the same place for too long, then people start to recognize you. The shopkeepers learn your name. They smile at you when you enter and already know what they need to get for you because they remember what you need. And Wendell says, that's a bad thing? And she nodded, still staring at the sky. It's worse when they think they're your friend. Gox, the viziers, they make assumptions. They think they know you and they start to expect things of you. Then you have to be the person everyone thinks you are, not the person you actually are. And he says, who is the person you actually are, Lift? She says, that was a problem, wasn't it? She'd known that once, hadn't she? Or was it that she had just been young enough to not care? How do people know? I understand her reasoning for wanting to leave. And because like she's obviously very young. Yeah. And childlike. And so she's like, doesn't want people to expect things from her. Yeah. But then at the same time, she's realizing like, she doesn't even really know who she is. Yeah. So she's like, I think she's afraid of the expectation that people have of or could have of her.
And I mean, it's very much like she is like 13. She's like 12 or 13, right?
I have no idea.
I'm like pretty sure she is. And I feel like that's the age where you start questioning just like, oh, what am I doing? What do I want to do? Yeah. I feel like that's when it starts. So that like early adolescence, teenage years. Yeah.
Yeah. Early adolescence is a good term for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chapter's only like 2 pages.
Yeah, literally.
Chapter 6.
Chapter 6.
Oh, I also like how that chapter ends where she's just like, let's go find some urchins. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
After talking to an urchin, Liv finds out that there's an orphanage who's willing to give her food. She witnesses a mother who leaves her child at the door, and an old woman finds Lift and the boy waiting. The woman takes the boy in and tells Lift that she can get 3 meals, and that's all. Lift then meets an old man who questions her about philosophy and tells her the woman's name is the Stump.
I actually don't have any notes in this chapter.
I kind of just wanted to touch on the whole thing with the Stump.
Where he asks her, like, if you were a part of the body. Oh, yeah, that's also the whole thing in this city is that people trade for information. That's, like, really what the whole basis of their culture is around. And so, like, she asks people for things and you have to give them something in return. Or if you have information, you trade information for their information. And so he, like, wants to trade for her answer to a question.
Yeah. With the Stump, I'm like trying to find the words. Let's see. She calls them an idiot and an opportunist. And I just find that interesting that that's how you talk to kids and whatnot.
Oh, the Stump says that to some kids?
No, she says it to Lift.
Oh, yeah,
and the boy.
She does. That's
she's
right.
She's like, and
you're an idiot and an opportunist.
Like, he's not an idiot. He's just hurt. I was describing you, child. You're the idiot. And he's an opportunist. And we kind of see that this woman doesn't think that this boy is...
He's like actually like slow.
Like he's faking it.
Yeah. Like he's faking having like a mental disability or something. Yeah.
And then we also see another boy show and like give like show up and says like, oh, what, you got appointments or whatever. And he's also like, he has some mental faculties not all there about him and whatnot. But what you were talking about with the old man, the philosopher, I really enjoyed that scene. It's just like, oh, what part of the body are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For like a moment, I was like, is this Hoyd?
Really?
Yeah, for like a moment in time, I was like, is he? Hello? Like, but then the more I read, I was like, nah.
Now, Hoyd's not in
Edgedancer.
He is mentioned.
He's mentioned, though, yes.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't have any notes for that chapter, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I like this funny old man. Lift heads to Haka's abode, where she finds Darkness. Wendell learns that Lift's plan is to find the Radiant that Darkness is hunting and protect them. Darkness tells Haka to keep an eye out for Lift.
All right.
I think this is kind of a tense scene.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole moment where Darkness asks, like, oh, like, done spheres, and she also has like some fresh ones as well.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, those are from weeks ago and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, she does get new spears.
Yes.
In the other chapter. So, which we find out are like not a huge thing for these people.
Because it's still during the weeping, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Or it's like, well, so it is directly after Words of Radiance because the rain has stopped and it is supposed to be the weeping, but we know that the Everstorm is coming.
Yes.
So there's no rain right now. So it's really odd that, because there was a high storm. A high storm did come through, as we know from Words of Radiance. So the fact that some people had spears out to charge is kind of like a weird thing. But right now there's no rain at all. They just know that the Everstorm is coming.
Yep.
I had a note here where we kind of learn a little bit more about Darkness.
Yeah.
And it's after she, tracks them down and she like waits on the top of the building. And then she listens to their conversation like through a window. And she says to Wendell, he's like, why are you looking for him? He's dangerous. And she's like, oh, he kills people. The Viziers have tracked him. He murders people that don't seem to be connected. The Viziers are confused, but I'm not. She took a deep breath. He's hunting someone in the city, Wendell. Someone with powers. Someone like me. So we kind of find... We find out that... I lost my train of thought. We find out that Darkness is looking for people who have radiant powers and can search mind. So that's like kind of our first clue into like what's going on here.
Lift, chapter 8. Lift follows Darkness into a market. After seeing a young girl who stole some fruit be killed by the man, she tries to bring her back and cannot. She again follows Darkness and continues spying on him.
Yeah.
I am... so this is honestly kind of a rough scene for me.
It's really brutal.
It's dark, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, for Stormlight touches on dark subjects. Like, we see it immediately with Kaladin.
Yeah.
And like Witchelon and all them. This is actively a man who kills a child.
A literal child.
A literal child.
With a shard blade.
With a shard blade. Like...
It's so, like, I was reading this last night and I was just like kind of floored at this scene. I was like, and then of course, like the merchant is like, I don't think that was... He
literally says, was that necessary? And like Angerspren were like boiling around him.
And like, no, it wasn't.
No.
A kid stole some fruit. God forbid.
And then he makes it like to the point of like, couldn't you have like cut off her hand or something? He's like, well, that means she wouldn't have been able to do like normal work and everything, which means she would go and just steal again. And then he's like, I've tried this before. This is the only method that like works. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Man? Like, we're starting to see like, okay,
This dude's nuts.
Darkness is not all the way there.
Oh no, he's like crazy, but then it's also I'm not even crazy. He's just evil.
You like see the logic in it though, which is weird.
Yeah.
And I think even scarier because you do see the logic in it.
It like makes you even more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, we do in this. After that happens, and he goes into that building where like all the other Skybreakers are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really cool scene here where we can see a little bit more of Lift's abilities. Lift hunkered down and let some of her awesomeness out. The little tree beside her stretched and popped softly. Mm-hmm. Leaves budded, unfurled, and gave a good morning yawn. Branches reached toward the sky. Liv took her time filling in the tree's canopy, letting it get large enough to obscure the window. Around her, seeds from storm-blown rock buds puffed up like little hot buns. Vines wrapped around her ankles. So she literally just made a tree grow.
Yes. Like
she found the little sapling and just urged it forward.
Yep.
So she could get into the window without being seen.
It's just regrowth.
And it's crazy because like we know regrowth works as like healing people.
Yeah.
But we've never seen someone use it to like genuinely
things.
Grow something. Yeah. And that was also part of the thing with the market, that she wasn't able to bring that girl back because even though she got to her pretty quickly, it was the shard blade that like severed her soul.
Yeah.
So she wasn't able to regrow it, even though she got to her like, you know, faster than she did to Gox.
Right.
Yeah.
Gox wasn't killed by a shard blade.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Do you know what that scene makes me think of, though?
What?
It's something you've never seen.
Oh.
JoJo Part 5.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely have not seen that.
There's literally a scene where Giorno is being followed by somebody. Mm-hmm. And it's just like the guy like looks up and there's just like a tree growing. And he's like in it because he's made it grow and whatnot. Yeah. I think it's when Bucciarati is chasing him. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
JoJo's reference.
JoJo reference.
All right.
She watched JoJo with.
Chapter 9.
Lift listens in on Darkness and his apprentices, which include Zeth. The two apprentices say that they have a lead on the Radiant, and Zeth says that Darkness, Nin, is wrong and that the desolation has returned. So here we have Zeth. And it's our first time kind of seeing him after everything that happened.
Yeah.
And he has his funny sword.
Sword Mimi.
Mm-hmm.
So right on like the second page here, he's talking to them and they're talking about killing other surge binders. And one of the other guys in the room says, you know, is it really, I mean, shouldn't we want them to return so that we wouldn't be the only Order of Knights Radiant?
Mm-hmm.
And Darkness says, unfortunately, no. I once thought as you, but Ishar made the truth clear to me. If the bonds between men and Spren are reignited, then men will naturally discover the greater power of oaths. Without honor to regulate this, there is a small chance that what comes next will allow the Voidbringers to again make the jump between worlds. That would cause a desolation, and even a small chance that the world would be destroyed is a risk that we cannot take. Absolute fidelity to the mission Ishar gave us. The greater law of protecting Roshar is required. And so we get more confirmation right here. Honor is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after this, we hear a voice that says, "You're wrong. You may be a god.
You're wrong.
But you're still wrong." And then that's where we see Zeth in the corner.
Dude, Zeth saying like "you're wrong" is pretty like awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to a god.
To a god.
Yeah, like we literally find out like he's a herald, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So crazy to talk to a god and be like, no. But like he literally refuses to believe that the Voidbringers are back.
Mm-hmm.
And Zeth is like, dude, I've seen them.
Yeah.
Like, but this is again where it says he shifted in place and storms. He left a soft white after image behind him. Like when you get when staring at a bright gemstone for too long. So as we were talking about in the part 5 Words of Radiance episode, is that he's like so infused.
Invested. Yeah.
So invested with Stormlight. that he leaves.
And
an
I don't know
afterimage.
if we actually saw that after image in Words of Radiance. I don't remember if we did or not.
You brought it up.
I did bring it up, but like the more I thought, I was like, did we actually say that?
I don't know.
If we didn't, I'm sorry.
I think we did. If anything, I did while I was explaining it because I brought up Edgedancer.
Yeah.
So
okay,
they're gonna get the point either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he says you are wrong. And he calls him Nin Sun God. You are wrong. Because he said I saw them return. And a fluke, Darkness said, his voice firm. I contacted Ishar and he assured me it was so. What you saw are a few listeners who remain from the old days. One's free to use the old forms. They summoned a cluster of voids, friend. We found remnants of them on Roshar before, hiding. Yeah. Like and then like Zeth asks him the new storm of red lightning. And Darkness says it means nothing. He did not seem to mind being challenged. He didn't seem to mind anything. His voice was perfectly even. He just says, an oddity to be sure. And Zeth says, you're wrong, so wrong. The Voidbringers have not returned, Darkness said firmly. Ishar has promised it, and he will not lie. We must do our duty. You are questioning Zeth son Naturo. This is not good. This is weakness. To question is to accept a descent into inactivity. The only path to sanity and action is to choose a code and to follow it. That is why I came to you in the first place.
I have here, I wanted to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
You said there is a second surge binder in the city. The woman said, we can find, she is mine.
Yes.
You will continue your mission. Find the one who's been hiding here since we arrived. If we don't stop one, others will congregate. They clump together. I have often found them making contact with one another these last 5 years. If I leave them alone, they must be drawn to each other.
Yeah. So,
which we see that. We've seen that.
Yeah. That they are drawn to each other, kind of, regardless of the circumstances.
Another JoJo reference. Stand users attract other stand users.
Oh. I believe you. I've never seen JoJo's.
I'm sorry for being annoying.
I mean, you're not being annoying. I've just never seen JoJo's, so I can't I can't riff off you.
Yeah.
So
that's what happens.
But yeah, I think we get some really good. Do you think Darkness is like that one's mine because he's upset at her for getting away?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I was like, I don't know if they have some like more personal beef than that, or if he's just feeling butthurt.
Because he was chasing her for a while, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So.
Chapter 10. Lift returns to the orphanage and gets her second meal. She finds the boy from the day prior and he appears better and asks her where his mother is, and he says his name is Mick. Soon it's just Lift and the philosopher, and he asks her what she is doing in this city.
Yeah, I don't have any notes for that chapter.
I don't really either, but Mick seems to be doing better.
Yeah, and he even says, like, I miss mother. Like, when is my mom coming back? Which just, like, makes me sad. And, like, Lift even says something being like, you know, at least we have memories. You know, it's the best we have. Which, you know, she was like, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Which is sad. But, I mean, such is their life, I guess. I don't know.
Say lovey.
All right, chapter 11.
Chapter 11. Lift tries to figure out how to find the radiance in the city. After harassing a woman, she finds an archive of sorts to help in her search.
Oh, yeah.
This is just a very silly... These are very, very short chapters.
Yeah.
This is just a funny, silly interaction.
Yeah, she says, is there a place in this city where people stuff all the things they wrote down to keep them safe? And the woman just, like, literally raises her hand and points down the street to a mound-like bunker that rose from the center of the city. And she's like, you mean the Grand Indicium? Indicium? I don't know. I've been saying Grand Indicium in my head, but... Indicium, that's what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's why you can't read and then talk out loud if you haven't read the audiobook, because you're just wrong. in my case in particular.
Yeah, it's not Adeline.
It's not Adeline.
No.
And then Lift is like, has that always been there? And Wendell's like, yeah. And we actually can see in the photo or the illustration in chapter 1, like, it's like sticking up.
It is.
If you're watching the YouTube video, I'm holding up my book. And if you're listening to this, I'm holding up my book.
Yeah. I like the whole thing where she's just like, you're disobeying beggar regulations.
Yeah.
Ain't begging, I'm trading.
Ain't begging, I'm trading. She's so good.
She's so funny.
All right, chapter 12.
Liv tells Wendell that her plan is for them to sneak into the building and have him read everything. He tells her that is impossible, and then she runs off to steal some clothes.
Yeah. I also have no notes in this chapter.
I have no notes in this one as well. I really like how stupid Liv is. Because
the girl some slack.
She's dumb.
She's
wise, but
she hasn't been able to be educated. She hasn't been given the right resources, and that is not her fault. She's street smart.
Yeah, she has wisdom, but she lacks intelligence.
Street smarts.
Yeah, street smarts.
What is that from?
John Mulaney.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was like, that's a bit, but I don't know why it's a bit.
Yeah, it's from one of his specials.
Yeah. That's what Lyft has. Street smarts.
Street smarts. Yeah.
All right, chapter 13.
Chapter 13. Lift is talking to a scribe and is trying to convince her that she knows Gawks. The woman leaves and Lift uses Wendell to write a message to the Palace of Aesir. The scribe returns with some guards, and they try to arrest Lift. Before it's too late, a reply comes and everyone is shocked. What do you have to say about this chapter?
I think it's really cool after they, leave the room. And Wendell says, "Tell me what you want to say." And she says out loud what she wants to say. And Wendell is able to turn his body into letter. Where she can trace that.
Yes.
That's so cool.
That's so smart. That is how you would do that. You were so silly, Nova.
Yeah, because she is really in a funny position right now. When you're learning, I'm thinking what even in kindergarten or before
trace the letters.
Yeah. That's so cool that Wendell did that for her.
She is fisting.
She's holding it like this,
fisting the span read.
She's like, it's literally when you give a kid a pencil for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome. I just thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah, it's great, and I love at the end where it comes in time, and everybody's just like, "You're kidding."
They're like, "This freaking kid? Are you sure?" And Gox is like, "Yes, everything is fine. Listen to whatever she says. She's royalty."
Mm-hmm.
All right, chapter 14.
Chapter 14, we're flying through.
I know, we are. I mean, they're short chapters, and it's a very short book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hours later, scribes are listening to Lift's every command. Hawka comes and tells Lift that the stump is running a money laundering scheme, and Lift tells her to arrest her. Soon all the scribes stop listening to her because the Everstorm is approaching. So apparently this stump is up to some shenanigans, and maybe that's why she's kind of mean.
Because she's money laundering.
Because she's money laundering for bad people.
Yeah.
And literally she's having all these scribes just go through all the weird stuff that's happening.
Yeah, she's like, "I need every report of every weird thing that's ever happened in this city."
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to figure out which one is most likely related to a surge binder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's revealed, just you don't suppose her investigation involved a bunch of scribes searching for records, do you? Lift cocked her head. That would be the smart thing to do. I mean, even we came up with it. So then they literally go and talk to the scribe that were helping Darkness's apprentices and everything, and it's just they've already done the work for you.
Wow. I think that's so cool, and it's funny because it's well, we were smart enough to come up with it, so surely they did as well. But
yeah, I like all the little weird things that people have noted.
Yeah,
where it's just oh, this woman's baby was born with lighter skin than her and the father because it was blessed by whatever the god is. And it's just they both acknowledge it's I think that baby one is a lie. And Lift is you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just all the examples of supernatural or weird things happening are very funny.
Chapter 15. Lift heads to the room in which Darkness's apprentices have been looking into the supposed radiant. They soon run into the two, and Zeth and Lift send Wendell to spy. Wendell returns in haste, and the three leave, and Zeth notices Lift, but doesn't do anything. Lift begins to follow.
Yeah, and then is that... let me make sure this is in the right... Okay, yes, it is the right chapter. Where Zeth sees her and like throws a sphere down the hallway to like light the hallway where she is, and he sees her, and like she thinks she's gonna die, and then he doesn't. He just lets her live.
Yeah.
And we find out in the next chapter why he let her live. But I just think it's really interesting. He he sees her or senses her, throws a spear down the hallway, sees her, and then is like, eh.
Yeah. Mark, I got it like just noted right here. The assassin, clothed, tattered, head bowed with that large sword. It had to be some kind of shard blade resting on his shoulder. I do not know, Sword Nimmy. I don't trust my own mind any longer. He paused, stopping as if listening to something. That is not comforting, Sword Nimmy. No, it is not. So he's talking to the sword.
Yes.
The sword's talking to him.
Yes. This is the first time we see that.
Yeah.
Because I know we get more of that in Stormlight. But
yeah. At the end of like that section of that chapter, we hear like Sword Nimmy's voice talking and everything.
Yeah.
But to a regular person, this is just a crazy man talking to a sword.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, it seems like this sword can't be unsummoned like a regular shard blade.
Oh, yeah. He's just like chilling, or the sword.
He's got that thing on him.
Yeah, he's just chilling with the sword on his back.
Yeah.
All right. What you got for chapter 16?
Chapter 16. The two apprentices leave Zeth, and then he acknowledges Lift. The two have a conversation, and they both agree to make that Nail is wrong. Zeth then says that Lift doesn't stand a chance against the apprentices, but Lift says she has to at least try.
Yeah, so she finds out that Zeth didn't kill her because the sword likes her.
The sword likes you. Right, I like the sword too.
Yeah, and then she sees the Skybreakers like fly away.
Yeah.
And she's like, how am I supposed to catch up to them? They can literally fly.
And why can't I fly?
Yeah. And then we see as she's like trying to chase after them, she tries to like make herself slick to like go faster, and then she just falls flat on her face, which I think is hysterical.
Oh yeah.
Let's see.
I really just like her interaction with Zeth.
Yeah. And he says to her, Zeth asked her, you're the one he's hunting for, aren't you? And she said, I ain't nobody. And he said, he kills nobodies. She says, and you don't? He says, I kill kings.
I kill kings.
Which is totally better. He narrowed his eyes at her, then squatted down, sheathed sword held across his shoulders with hands draped forward. No, it is not. I hear their screams, their demands whenever I see shadow. They haunt me, scramble for my mind, wishing to claim my sanity. I fear they've already won, that the man who you can no longer, or that the man to whom you speak can no longer distinguish what voice is a mad raving and what is not. She says, okay, but you didn't attack me. No, the sword likes you. And then she's asking where they're going, and he tells them that it's an old man who can vanish. He's presumably a light weaver. Is an old philosopher known the immigrant quadrant. Oh my goodness. Immigrant. Quadrant. It doesn't even say quadrant. It says quarter. Known in the immigrant quarter. Sits in a small amphitheater near the Tashi's Light Orphanage. She says, I should have guessed. He's almost as weird as you. And he says, will you fight them, little Radiant? You alone against two journeyman Skybreakers? A herald waiting in the wings? And she looks at Wendell and says, I don't know, but I have to go anyway, don't I?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, she does.
So it's the weird old philosopher, huh?
And we get the, you know what? Let's talk. Give me your summary and then I'll talk about it.
Chapter 17. Lift makes her way to the orphanage and finds everyone is okay. She finds Mick, supposedly completely healed, and the stump gives her her last meal. When she's not looking, she sneaks out to investigate a scream in the storm.
Yeah, I don't have any notes about this besides the fact that she just falls flat on her face.
Yeah, and Mick is now supposedly like fully healed.
Yeah, he's like totally good.
He's good.
So we can assume like, oh, he was just faking it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk about chapter 18.
Let's talk about chapter 18.
This is where we get like one of the grossest scenes.
The coolest scene.
Gross.
Lift finds the bodies of Nail's apprentices and discovers that the philosopher is actually a bunch of Kremlings formed into one. Then she realizes the stump is the real Radiant and runs to save her.
Yeah, so there's a paragraph here.
Yep.
Where Lift picks him out of the shadows and she sees the shape of a man, though as lightning lit him, she could see that he wasn't all there. Chunks were missing from his flesh. His right shoulder ended in a stump, and Storm's, he was naked, with strange holes in his stomach and thighs. Even one of his eyes was missing. There was no blood, though, and in a quick succession of flashes, she picked up something climbing up his legs. Kremlings. That was the skittering sound. Thousands upon thousands of Kremlings coated the walls, each the size of a finger. Little beasts of chitin and legs clicking away, making that awful buzz. That is so gross. I think that is so disgusting.
Really?
I mean, it's cool, but it's nasty.
You don't like bugs?
I like bugs.
Yeah.
Me and bugs, we have no problem. But just
ain't got no beef with bugs.
I got no beef with bugs. But I'm just thinking about like, Ryan, if you and I, like, imagine I come out of our hotel room at Dragonsteel, I like, forget to knock on the door, and I come in, you're in the middle of changing, and you're just...
and I'm just a bunch of beetles.
You're a bunch of beetles, and there's, like, sections of your body missing where, like, there should not be a hole in your stomach, and that'd be nasty, man.
There's no blood or anything.
I don't know. So I don't mind bugs, but I don't like a conglomerate of gloves.
Of bugs. You don't like a congregation of bugs.
No. Like, I don't want, like, bees and, like, a hive. Like, they're kind of doing their business. But, like, if I saw, like, a bunch of, like, beetles or, like...
forming a man.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I think that is rad as hell. I think it's so awesome.
I think it's gross.
When I first read this, and by read I meant listen, I was just like, I gotta rewind this back, baby, because this is awesome. Had no idea what was happening. Had no idea that like this was coming or anything. Yeah. And also, hey, Wit, you probably got this marked down. Mm-hmm. He stepped toward her, and a flash of lightning revealed him flexing his fingers in his newly formed hand as the thumb, a single Kremling with little spindly legs on the bottom, settled into place, tying itself into the others. But you, the thing said, did not come for a contest, did you? We watched the others, the assassin, the surgeon, the liar, the high prince. But not you. The others all ignore you. And that, I hazard to predict, is a mistake. So that we learn that there are others like him, and that these people are watching
the Radiance.
They're watching specifically Zeth, Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar.
Yeah. I also marked that. You're correct.
Like that's we're all tied it back together, baby.
It's crazy, but we also know that these people are called the Sleepless.
The Sleepless.
Yes, that's what we find out. But yeah, she said the guy says, if you ever encounter another of the Sleepless, tell them you've spoken with Arklow. I'm sure it will gain you sympathy. Ew. I think the Sleepless are gross.
I think the Sleepless are so awesome, and I want to be one because I think they're so cool. I think being a Sleepless would be so cool.
I'll stick with my Edgedancer. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with Lightweaver and everything, but like the Sleepless are like the coolest things in this book for me right now. but that's just me.
I actually, you were talking about it, and I actually got a shiver through my body because of how gross it made me feel.
Oh.
Really, I genuinely, I have no beef with bugs. I'll pick up bugs, I'll move them around, I'll take a spider outside, but it's the conglomerate.
And they're a hive mind. They all
I hate that.
Yeah.
I think if I think in a horror movie, if someone made a movie where it was like that, I'm sure someone has.
Yeah.
But that would be one of my, I could not watch it. I would be so uncomfortable.
I think we've talked about this before. Are you just not a fan of body horror or anything?
No, I don't like body horror.
Oh, see.
Yeah.
I like body horror.
Okay, so then here we go. We found.
There we go.
There's the link.
Yeah. I don't know. I think body horror is cool. It's gross, and that's why it's cool.
I think it's gross because it's gross.
Chapter 19. Lift confronts Darkness. The stump saves her, but is wounded in the process. Lift leads Darkness out into the storm and shows him shows him that the desolation has returned and speaks the new ideals. Darkness breaks down and says he has failed, and Lift comforts him.
I know. That scene is so nice.
It is, right?
That she gives Darkness a hug.
She gives Darkness a hug, and then he hugs her back.
Yeah. And then he flies away and we never see him again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really cool. We find out that the stump is the surge binder, and that while she seems like this horrible old woman, she's really using her powers to help these kids out, and so she's not as bad as you think.
Yep.
And I just think that's nice.
Yeah. And Lift doesn't conjure up a sword.
No.
With Wendell.
She just gets a
staff.
A staff, yeah. Super cool, I think.
Yeah.
So that's where we see again, we talked about in Words of Radiance. We saw that Syl could turn into a shield, a hammer, a knife, a spear, a blade. And so now we also have a staff as an option for our radiant weapons.
It's really cool.
But I also like her, and we find out specifically Darkness is the Herald of Justice. That is his official title. It's who he is. He is a herald. But Lift says the words, and what she says is, I will listen to those who have been ignored. And that's her second
ideal. Yeah.
Because the whole book.
Third
ideal. Yeah. Because at the beginning of the book, there is an urchin she's talking to that asks, do you listen? And so the whole book, there's in the back of her mind where she's am I listening? Should I be listening?
Yep.
And so then her third ideal is I will listen to those who have been ignored, which I think is nice.
All right. Chapter 20. Last one. After healing the stump, she tells her that she's a radiant. Lift then leaves the city, helping the people at the entrance. She returns to Aesir, telling Wendell that she thinks she's going to be needed there.
Yeah.
So she tells the stump that she's a radiant. And she's like, have you been seeing a weird vine thing or whatever? And she's like, a spren, not like a vine. Light reflecting on a wall from a mirror. Lift glanced at Wendell, who clung to the wall nearby. He nodded his vine face. I think this is indicating that Lift also doesn't have a normal spren like other Edgedancers do.
I don't know if the stump is an Edgedancer.
I think she is. Is she not?
Well, because I think she was. Multiple orders can have...
Oh, healing. You're right.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, what kind of spren is Wendell? They say it in this book.
A cultivation spren.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that most Edgedancers would have something similar.
Yeah.
As to how we see pattern so maybe hers is a cryptic. She's not a light weaver either.
No, she's not a cryptic.
I don't know.
Because it seems more akin to what the cobbler was going to be. So maybe and that's why I say that, because it doesn't look like Wendell. It's not like vines and stuff. It's just maybe, shimmering.
Huh. I don't know. So maybe there's...
We already know there's something up with Lift.
Yeah. But maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to think. Spren are so confusing to me, to be so honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe there's different Spren for just different types of people, and maybe it's just like the Spren is chosen based on who the person is, and it's nothing about the actual powers they'll manifest. I don't know. Or like they know they're gonna, I don't know.
We know there is something different about Lift.
Yeah.
We know that she was created.
Yes.
In that city.
The City of Shadows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think that might have something to do with it. And also maybe her going and talking to supposedly the Night Watcher.
Yeah. It is the Night Watcher. Someone says it in this book.
Do they?
Yeah. The Night Watcher is said explicitly at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So we do know it's the Night Watcher.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. Like I said, Spren are mad confusing to me.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll get it explained to me really well and I'll be like, cool.
Yeah.
But
all
yeah,
right.
that's our little in between Words of Radiance and Oathbringer novella.
Mm-hmm.
We get a good little story about Lift. We get some more insight on a different Order of Knights Radiant that we're not really going to see with our big four people in the main series. And like I said, we get some more like world building and culture that like we wouldn't really see otherwise. So overall, and Ryan said this to me at DragonCon, there is so much heavy stuff that happens at the end of Words of Radiance that reading this in between this and Oathbringer, because Oathbringer is also a very heavy book. Yeah, it's very nice. It's a nice reprieve.
Now we do get like the darkest thing I think we've seen in this book. No, in this book.
Oh, in this book. Oh, yeah, with
the child.
Oh my god.
But this is such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
The end of Words of Radiance is just so bam, 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 bam.
It's intense.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole, like, I would say, like, parts 3, 4, and 5 are of that book are just so intense.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, if you are reading the series and you have the time in between the books, definitely recommend picking this up if you feel like you need a break. I literally read this in, like, maybe 2 hours last night. It's, like, about 200 pages of this size, so they're not even like really full pages. I don't know how many it is in your book.
It's like a little over 100.
Yeah, so nothing super crazy. But yeah, that's it. I don't think
that's it. I don't have anything else to say.
I don't either, and I don't think we're gonna yap today because Ryan's got to be somewhere this evening, and we do this thing where we backlog episodes, and then when we talk at each other for about 5 hours straight, we run out of things to talk about, if you can believe that. So, but yeah.
Thank you all for listening. Hello, Zeus. He is waiting patiently for me to pet him.
He's waiting patiently. It's about 6 o'clock.
It's about food time.
Yeah.
And I'm not your daddy. I don't feed you.
Don't say the D word because he will get too excited. DINNER.
Oh.
It's like having a baby.
Oh, gotcha.
Can't say it out loud or he'll freak out.
Thank you all for listening.
Yes.
Thank you for everybody who's commented in the past week or so, and even before that. I'm sorry we don't get to the comments that fast.
We both work full-time jobs,
but just know, like,
we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I try and go and like all the comments and everything.
We try to respond to them if we see them as well. Yeah, I just know, like, especially with like last week with DragonCon and everything, it was like DragonCon is very, very overwhelming. Yeah. And so like Ryan texted me over the weekend and was like, someone commented. And so I know that we weren't going to like, I went and read it, but we weren't able to get to it because like there's just really not a lot of downtime at cons like that.
No.
And you're already so overwhelmed anyways. You're like, I don't want to sit down and have to like
but
do more things.
Please comment away. We'll try and respond. We would like to interact with you.
Yes. We really, really do appreciate it. I love, especially we see like return people, and that's always really cool to like let us know you're still listening and stuff. So it is very appreciated, and we just appreciate any attention this has gotten at all. So, yeah. That's
goodbye.
Okay, hold on.
We'll do a real one.
Okay, yeah. So next time we'll be back. We'll be for part 1 of Oathbringer.
Yes. Get ready.
Yes.
Buckle up, buckaroos.
This one is my favorite book, supposedly, so far.
From what I remember of Oathbringer, this is, I think, a big shift in the story.
I agree.
And a lot happens.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to start that. But yeah, so next time we see you will be then. But as always, thank you for listening, and give us a like, comment, rating, all that good stuff if you are feeling so kind. And yeah, we will see you next time for part 1 of Oathbringer. I can't believe we've made it this far.
I know. We're halfway.
Halfway there. All right.
We'll see you
next time.
through the next half.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.